Maybe you're failing too. Maybe you feel tired. But what if I told you that every failure can take you one step closer to fluency? Stay with me till the end because I'll show you how those 100 failures turned into my biggest success. Chapter 1. My first failure wasn't the end. The first time I tried to speak English, I failed so badly that I wanted to hide from the world. I still remember that day clearly. My heart was beating fast, my mouth was dry. I had practiced one simple sentence all night. I thought I was ready. But when I opened my mouth, nothing came out, just silence. My mind went blank. The person in front of me waited for an answer, but all I could give was a nervous smile. That moment felt like the end of everything. I thought I was not made for English. I went home feeling broken. I looked in the mirror and said to myself, why can't I speak? I know the words, I know the meaning, but still, I can't say them. It was painful. It was like something was blocking my voice. I wanted to give up. Maybe English was only for smart people. Maybe it was not for me. But deep inside, something whispered, try one more time. That small voice was weak, but it was still alive. That night, I cried a little, but then I picked up my notebook again. I looked at the same sentence that embarrassed me in front of others. I repeated it, slowly, again and again. How are you today? I said it to the mirror. Then I said it louder. I made mistakes, but I didn't stop. I wanted to win against that silence. I wanted to speak, even if my voice was shaking. The next day, I tried again. And again I failed. My pronunciation was wrong. My words were mixed. People laughed, but something had changed in me. This time, I didn't feel small. I felt stronger. Because I was doing what most people never do. I was trying after failing. That was the moment I learned the truth. Failure is not the end, it's the first lesson. Every failure was like a mirror that showed me what to fix. When I said the wrong word, I learned the right one. When I forgot something, I learned how to remember it better. When I couldn't speak, I learned how to listen. I started to understand that every mistake had a message. The problem wasn't my English. The problem was my fear. I was afraid to sound bad. But when I accepted that it's okay to sound bad, my learning started to grow fast. I began to collect my mistakes like small treasures. I wrote them in a notebook. On one page, I wrote sentences that I said wrong. On the next page, I corrected them. Slowly, my notebook became full. But I was proud of it, because every line showed that I was still fighting. I was still learning. I was still walking forward when others stopped. Some days were heavy. I felt tired and lost. My friends spoke better English. I compared myself to them. I thought I was too slow. But then, one evening, I realized something powerful. I was not failing because I was weak. I was failing because I was learning deeply. My brain was building new connections. My mouth was training to move in new ways. My ears were learning new sounds. Every time I failed, my brain got stronger. That night, I told myself something that changed everything. I may fail 100 times, but I will speak one day. It was a promise I made to myself, and that promise gave me energy. The next morning, I woke up early and started again. I repeated words while walking. I whispered sentences while brushing my teeth. I talked to my phone when no one was listening. It felt strange, but I didn't care, because every try was a small victory over my fear. People think fluency starts with success. But the truth is, fluency starts with failure. You can't speak well without speaking badly first. You can't learn without making mistakes. That first failure that made me cry also made me brave. It taught me to keep going when everything inside me said stop. It showed me that failing is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of effort. So if you're watching this and you've failed too, don't worry. You are not behind. You are just beginning. Your first failure is not your end. It's your start. The more you fail, the faster you grow. I failed many times, and I'm still failing today. But now I smile when I fail because I know it's part of the journey. That first day when I couldn't speak, I thought my story was over. But today, I realized that was only the first page. If I hadn't failed that day, I would never have learned what true learning means. My failure became my teacher. My mistakes became my guide. And slowly my silence turned into sentences. So remember this: your first failure is not something to be ashamed of, it's something to be proud of. It means you are trying. It means you care. It means you are brave enough to start. And that's where every fluent speaker begins, not with perfection, but with one brave, broken sentence that opens the door to everything else. Chapter 2. Every mistake taught me something. When I first started learning English, I thought mistakes were bad. I thought they were a sign that I was not smart enough. Every time I said something wrong, I felt small. Every time someone corrected me, I wanted to disappear. I used to think that people who spoke perfectly were born with talent, and people like me were just unlucky. But I was wrong. I didn't know then that my mistakes were actually teaching me more than any book ever could. One day I was trying to talk to a friend in English. I wanted to say, she goes to school every day, but I said, she go to school every day. My friend smiled and said softly, she goes. For a second I felt embarrassed. My face became hot. I wanted to stop speaking. But then something clicked in my mind. That small correction stayed with me forever. I never forgot it. That tiny mistake taught me one rule that no grammar book could make me remember so easily. That's when I realized that mistakes are like little teachers. They hurt a bit, but they teach fast. When you forget a word, you learn to find another one. When you pronounce something wrong, your tongue learns a new way to move. When someone corrects you, your brain wakes up and remembers better. Every mistake is a signal that your brain is growing stronger. After that day, I stopped running away from my mistakes. I started listening to them carefully. When I said something wrong, I smiled and said, "Thank you, mistake. You just taught me something new." It felt funny at first, but it worked. My fear began to fade away. I started to speak more freely, and the more I spoke, the more I learned. I began to keep a small notebook. Every time I made a mistake, I wrote it down. Not to feel bad, but to understand what happened. I would write, I said he go instead of he goes. Then I wrote the correct version and repeated it 5 times. It was like building small steps. Every mistake became one more step toward fluency. Some people laughed at my broken English. They didn't know that broken English is still English. They didn't know that every mistake was making me stronger. I was not perfect, but I was learning something they had forgotten: courage. It takes courage to speak even when you know you might fail. It takes real strength to keep talking when people correct you. I started watching English videos, listening to native speakers, and repeating what they said. Sometimes I copied them wrong, but that was okay. My mistakes were not my enemies anymore. They were my training partners. They were helping me build my English muscle. Every time I made a mistake, I told myself, "Good job, you just learned something real." I remember one day I recorded myself speaking for 5 minutes. When I listened to it later, I laughed because it was full of mistakes. My grammar was wrong. My pronunciation was strange. but I didn't delete it. I kept that recording as proof. It was proof that I was brave enough to speak. And when I recorded myself again after a month, I could hear the difference. My voice was clearer. My sentences were smoother. The mistakes that once made me feel ashamed now made me proud. That's when I started to believe that mistakes are not the problem. The real problem is fear. Fear stops you from learning. Fear tells you to stay silent. Fear makes you believe that others are better. But once you stop fearing mistakes, you become unstoppable. You start learning fast because you start living inside the language instead of running away from it. Every time I made a mistake, I imagined my future self smiling and saying, "Good, keep going." And that made me smile too, because I knew that my mistakes were creating my future fluency. Each one was like a seed. Some days it didn't look like anything was growing, but deep inside, something was changing. My brain was learning. My heart was becoming confident. My words were finding their way. Now when I speak English and people say, "You speak so well," I smile, because I know the truth. They are not hearing my success. They are hearing my hundreds of mistakes that became lessons. Every wrong sentence, every nervous pause, every small correction, all of them built the voice I have today. So if you're watching this and you make mistakes, don't feel sad, feel proud. Every mistake you make is a sign that you are doing something brave. It means you are learning. It means you are alive inside the language. Remember this: perfection is not the goal, progress is. And progress comes from trying, failing, and learning again. Your mistakes are not stopping you, they are pushing you forward. You just need to see them that way. Chapter 3: How I Turned My Shame into Power. There was a time when every mistake made me hide. Every wrong word felt like a knife cutting my confidence. I remember sitting in a small classroom, trying to speak, and hearing people laugh softly. Maybe they didn't mean to hurt me, but those small laughs felt heavy. I told myself, I will never speak again. I thought silence would protect me. But silence didn't help me grow, it only made me smaller. I was trapped inside my fear, and the more I stayed quiet, the more my English stayed silent too. Then one day, something inside me changed. I was tired of feeling weak. I was tired of running away from my own dreams. I looked in the mirror and said, "You are not stupid, you are just learning." That simple sentence became my power. I realized that every person who speaks fluently once felt the same. They were scared, they made mistakes, they were laughed at, but they kept going, so why not me? That question started a fire in my heart. I started to do something strange. I began talking to myself. I stood in front of the mirror and spoke in English. At first, I felt silly. My voice was shaking. My pronunciation was not good. But after a few minutes, something magical happened. I started to feel free. There was no one to judge me, no one to laugh, just me and my reflection. Every day I practiced like that. I told the mirror about my day, my dreams, and my goals. Slowly my fear started to fade. My words became stronger. My voice became louder. That mirror became my best teacher. It never laughed, it never corrected me, it just listened. And the more I talked, the more confident I became. I started to understand that shame only has power if you let it. If you look at your fear and face it, it becomes smaller. My mirror taught me courage. It taught me that speaking badly is better than not speaking at all. I also began to record my voice. When I listened later, I laughed at myself, but I also felt proud because I was improving. Slowly, word by word, I could hear progress. I realized that shame was not my enemy, it was my old friend, showing me where I needed to grow. Instead of hiding from it, I started using it. Every time I felt embarrassed, I said to myself, "Good, that means I'm learning something new." There were still moments when people corrected me or smiled at my mistakes. But now I didn't care. I smiled too, because I knew something they didn't. I knew that every time I failed, I was getting closer to fluency. Every mistake made me stronger. Every wrong word was one step toward the right one. The same shame that used to break me was now pushing me forward. One day a friend said to me, "Your English is improving fast. What's your secret?" I smiled and said, "My secret is my shame." They laughed, but I meant it. My shame pushed me to practice more. It made me brave. It gave me hunger. I turned that pain into energy. Every time I remembered those old laughs, I practiced harder. I spoke louder. I learned faster. You see, the power was never outside me, it was always inside. I just had to stop hiding it behind fear. Once I accepted my flaws, they became my teachers. Once I accepted my shame, it became my power. Today, when I speak English, I don't think about being perfect. I think about being proud. Proud that I started. Proud that I didn't quit. Proud that I turned my pain into progress. So, if you feel shy when you speak, remember this. Every confident speaker once felt the same. They were embarrassed too, they failed too, but they didn't stop. You are not weak because you feel ashamed. You are human. What makes you strong is that you keep going anyway. That's where power lives, inside your courage to try again. Look at your fear and talk to it. Say, "You can't control me anymore," then speak. Speak to the mirror, speak to your phone, speak to yourself. Speak until shame becomes just another word, because when you turn your fear into fuel, no one can stop you, not even you. Your journey will not be easy, but it will be beautiful. You will fall many times, but you will rise even more. And one day you will look back and realize that the very moments that made you hide are the moments that made you strong. So now I ask you, are you ready to face your fear and speak with power? Are you ready to turn your shame into your strength? If yes, then get ready for the next part of this journey. Chapter 4. The Secret of Consistency. I used to think success came from one big effort. I thought one great study day, one big moment of inspiration, or one lucky chance could change everything. But life taught me a different truth. Success, especially in learning English, is not built in a day. It is built in small moments, repeated again and again. The real magic is not in doing it once, it is in doing it every single day, even when you don't feel like it. That's the secret of consistency. In the beginning, I had no routine. I studied for 3 days, then stopped for a week. I watched English videos one night, then forgot for a month. Every time I stopped, my confidence dropped. My English became weaker. I was walking in circles, not moving forward. One day I asked myself, why do I always start again from zero? The answer was simple. I wasn't consistent. I wanted results without habits. I wanted fluency without practice. So I decided to change my approach. I stopped chasing perfection and started chasing daily progress. I told myself, just 10 minutes every day. It sounded small, but it was powerful. I chose one time early morning. Before the world got busy, I made English my first task. I read one short paragraph, listened to one short story, or practiced a few sentences. Some days I felt tired, some days I didn't want to do it. But I still showed up. I learned that discipline is stronger than motivation. Motivation comes and goes, but consistency stays. At first, nothing looked different. My English sounded the same. My vocabulary didn't grow fast. I started to doubt myself again. But after 2 weeks, something started to change. My sentences came faster. My brain remembered words more easily. My tongue moved smoothly. It was slow progress, but it was real. That's when I understood something important. Small steps become big when you don't stop walking. There were still bad days. Some mornings I overslept. Some evenings I was tired after work. On those days, I didn't try to do everything. I just did one small thing, maybe listening to a short clip or writing one sentence in English. Even if it was little, I did not break the chain. Because I knew that one missed day could become one missed week, and one missed week could become quitting again. So I told myself, just do something today. That simple promise kept my dream alive. I made English part of my daily life. I didn't wait for the right time anymore. I listened while walking. I repeated sentences while cooking. I described things I saw during the day. Slowly, English became a friend that followed me everywhere. I didn't have to find time for it, it became part of my time. That's the real secret of consistency. When something becomes a habit, it no longer feels heavy. One day, after months of steady practice, I realized I was thinking in English. It felt natural. My daily effort had built something inside me. I didn't become fluent overnight. I became fluent slowly, quietly, one consistent day at a time. I didn't notice the change happening. It grew like a plant. Every day I gave it a little water, and one day it bloomed. Consistency also taught me patience. I stopped comparing myself to others. I learned that everyone's journey moves at its own speed. Some people learn faster, some slower, but the only one who loses is the one who stops. When you are consistent, you are always moving forward, even if it's just 1 inch. Every small action adds up. Every short practice becomes a brick in your wall of fluency. So if you're listening right now, don't wait for a perfect day to start. Start now. Speak one sentence today. Listen to one small story. Read one page. Do it again tomorrow, and again the next day. Soon you'll see something amazing. Your small efforts will turn into a powerful result. You will feel proud. You will realize that you don't need to be fast, you just need to be steady. The secret is not doing a lot once. The secret is doing a little every day. That's how you win. That's how you grow. That's how you build a future that feels like a dream today. One day, when people ask you how you became fluent, you'll smile and say, I just never stopped. Now take a deep breath and look at your own journey. Ask yourself, are you ready to stay consistent no matter what happens? Because if you are, nothing can stop your progress. Chapter 5. When I wanted to quit. There came a time when I wanted to give up completely. I was tired, I was frustrated. I had been learning English for months, but I still felt stuck. My sentences were broken, my confidence was low, and my heart was full of doubt. I started to ask myself, maybe I am just not good at languages. Maybe English is not for me. Those thoughts became louder every day. It felt like I was walking in a long tunnel with no light ahead. One night, I sat alone in my room, staring at my books. My notebook was full of words, my recordings were full of mistakes, and my mind was full of disappointment. I wanted to throw everything away. I whispered to myself, what's the point of trying if I always fail? For a moment, I really believed it. I felt like all my hard work was useless. That was the lowest point of my journey. But then something beautiful happened. I remembered why I started. I remembered that small dream to speak freely, to express myself, to understand people around the world. I remembered that feeling I had when I first said my first English sentence. It was small, but it was special. It made me smile again. I realized that giving up would mean losing that dream forever. And that thought hurt more than failure itself. So I made a choice. I decided to keep going, even when I didn't feel strong. I told myself, I will not quit today, just one more day. That was all I promised. I didn't need to be perfect, I just needed to continue. I closed my eyes and said, if I can do it today, I can do it tomorrow too. That small promise became my lifeline. The next day, I studied again. My heart was still heavy, but I spoke one sentence aloud. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. I practiced for 5 minutes. That's all. The day after that, I practiced again. Slowly, the dark days started to pass. My confidence came back, one small step at a time. I learned that quitting doesn't make the pain disappear. It only makes the dream disappear. But continuing, even when it hurts, brings you closer to your dream. There were many moments after that when I still felt weak. I cried sometimes. I got angry with myself. I wanted fast results. But then I realized that every learner feels this way. Even fluent speakers once wanted to quit. The only difference between them and the ones who gave up was simple. They kept going. They didn't stop on the bad days, they pushed through. And one day their effort turned into confidence. I started using my pain as fuel. Every time I felt sad, I turned that emotion into practice. I would tell myself, okay, I feel bad, but I can at least say 5 sentences today. And after saying them, I felt a little better. I began to see that action kills fear. When you keep moving, your fear loses its power. You start to control your journey again. Some days I spoke with my mirror and told it, I wanted to quit yesterday, but I'm still here today. That sentence gave me strength. It reminded me that progress doesn't come from never falling, it comes from standing up one more time after every fall. The truth is, every successful person has a moment when they want to quit. But they don't. That's why they succeed. Now, when I look back, I thank those hard days. They taught me patience. They taught me discipline. They showed me how much I wanted this dream. If everything had been easy, I wouldn't have grown strong. My failures built my confidence. My pain became my teacher. My struggles made me humble. So if you are watching this and you feel like quitting, please listen carefully. You are not weak. You are not behind. You are just human. Every learner feels tired sometimes. Every learner wants to stop. But the difference between failure and success is just one more try. Don't stop now. You are closer than you think. The moment you want to quit is the moment right before the miracle happens. Take a deep breath, wipe your tears, pick up your notebook again, speak that one sentence. Don't let this dream fade away, because one day you'll look back and smile at this version of yourself, the one who didn't quit. That will be your proudest victory. So I ask you now, are you ready to keep going? Are you ready to rise again even when it's hard? Because if you are, the next part of this journey will give you even more power. Chapter 6. The Day I Realized I Could Speak. It didn't happen in a big moment. There was no stage, no teacher, no test. It was just an ordinary day. I was talking to a friend, and suddenly I realized I had been speaking English for almost 5 minutes without stopping. I didn't pause to translate. I didn't think about grammar. The words just flowed out. I could hear my own voice, clear and confident. For a second, I froze. I couldn't believe it. Was this really me? The same person who once couldn't say a single sentence without fear? I smiled quietly. My friend was still talking, but inside my heart, I was celebrating. That moment felt magical. I didn't even notice when it happened. My fluency didn't arrive like a thunderstorm. It came slowly, like morning sunlight. It started small and became brighter every day. Every failure, every mistake, every night of practice had finally turned into something real. I could speak. I could express myself. My voice finally felt free. That night, I lay in bed and thought about my journey. I remembered all those days when I wanted to quit. I remembered crying after making mistakes. I remembered people laughing at me. I remembered how embarrassed I felt when I couldn't understand simple sentences. And now, here I was, speaking naturally. I realized something very powerful that night. Fluency is not one big jump. It's 1,000 tiny steps that you take even when you feel tired. I used to think that fluency was about knowing every word, but now I knew the truth. Fluency is about confidence. It's about speaking with your heart, not just your mouth. When I stopped worrying about being perfect and started focusing on expressing myself, everything changed. I stopped being afraid of mistakes. I stopped caring about how I sounded. I just spoke. And that's when the real progress began. Every person who learns English will reach this moment one day. The day when words come naturally. The day when you realize you're not thinking in your old language anymore. You're thinking in English. It doesn't mean you know everything, it just means your mind has started to trust itself. It's like learning to ride a bicycle. At first, you fall again and again. But one day you realize you're moving forward without fear. That's how it feels when you finally start speaking. I also understood something else that day. The reason I reached this point wasn't because I was special, it was because I didn't stop. Every single day I showed up. Some days I learned 5 new words. Some days I repeated one sentence again and again. Some days I failed badly, but I never left the path. I didn't wait for motivation. I didn't wait to feel ready. I just kept speaking. And my small daily actions built a mountain of confidence. When I first started learning, I imagined fluency as a faraway dream. But now I saw that fluency is not a destination. It's a journey. It's something that grows with you. It's inside you already, waiting for practice to wake it up. That realization changed how I looked at learning forever. From that day, English was no longer my subject. It became my voice. It became part of my daily life. I started enjoying conversations. I made friends from other countries. I laughed. I shared stories. I learned about new cultures. English opened doors that I didn't even know existed. And all of it started with one small sentence that once scared me. When I looked back, I didn't see a straight line of success. I saw hundreds of small failures, but together they created my victory. That's the truth about every big achievement. It's not made of perfect moments, it's made of imperfect tries that never stop. So if you haven't had your moment yet, don't worry, it's coming. You're building it every day, every time you speak, every time you make a mistake and learn from it. One day you'll suddenly realize you're speaking English naturally. You'll surprise yourself, and you'll smile just like I did. When that moment comes, don't forget to thank your past self, the one who didn't quit, the one who kept trying, the one who believed in this dream when no one else did. That version of you is your hero. So keep going. Your day will come too. Your voice will shine. Your heart will feel proud. Just keep practicing and believing, because one day you'll say the same thing I did. I can speak. And that sentence will change everything. Chapter 7. Failing Forward. When I look back now, I see one clear truth. Every failure was not a wall, it was a bridge. Every mistake I made pushed me forward, even when I didn't see it at that time. I used to think failure was something bad. I thought it meant I was not good enough, not smart enough, not ready. But now I know that failure was not stopping me. It was shaping me. It was quietly building the version of me that could finally speak English with confidence. There were so many times when I fell. I forgot words I had learned. I mixed tenses again and again. I said wrong things at the wrong time. I misunderstood people. I got stuck in silence. But every single one of those moments taught me something important. I started to understand that the people who never fail never grow. Only the people who fall and stand up again become stronger. That is what it means to fail forward. When you fail forward, you don't see mistakes as the end, you see them as steps. Every wrong word is one step toward a better one. Every awkward sentence is practice for a smoother one. Every time you are corrected, you get a little closer to fluency. The secret is not to avoid failure, but to use it as your power. Failure is not your enemy, it is your teacher. I remember one day I was speaking with someone and I said something completely wrong. They laughed kindly and corrected me. For a few seconds, I felt that old sting of embarrassment. But instead of going silent, I laughed too. I repeated the correct version. That moment was special because I didn't let failure control me. I controlled it. I turned it into learning. That was the day I truly started to fail forward. I began to collect my failures proudly. I started calling them my English lessons. Each one was proof that I had tried, proof that I had courage. I wrote them in my notebook, just like I used to, but now with a smile. The more I failed, the better I got. My sentences became clearer. My confidence became stronger. My fear started to disappear. The truth is, failure gives you what comfort never can. It gives you understanding. When you fail, you remember. When you fail, you grow. When you fail and stand up again, you become unstoppable. You stop being afraid of what people think. You stop being afraid of making mistakes. You start to enjoy the process. That's when English stops feeling like a subject and starts feeling like a part of your life. I also learned that failing forward means forgiving yourself. There were days when I was hard on myself. I used to think, why can't I speak like them? But later I realized that comparing yourself kills your confidence. Everyone has their own time, their own path. The only person you should compare yourself to is the person you were yesterday. If you are trying today, you are already winning. Now, whenever I fail, I smile. I say, good, another lesson. I don't feel angry. I feel grateful. Because I know that every time I fall, I'm still moving forward. Failure only hurts when you stop walking. But if you keep walking, it becomes your power. You stop seeing it as a problem. You start seeing it as progress. One day, someone asked me, how did you become fluent? I told them the truth. By failing 100 times, they looked surprised. But I meant it. I failed again and again until failure became my friend. I didn't win by being perfect. I won by refusing to stop. I didn't escape mistakes. I embraced them. I didn't wait for courage. I built it through practice. So if you are failing right now, I want you to remember this. You are not behind. You are moving forward, even if it feels slow. Every small effort, every broken sentence, every misunderstanding, all of it is pushing you closer to success. You are learning something that can't be taught in books. You are learning resilience. You are learning strength. You are learning to rise. Keep going. Keep falling. Keep rising. Because one day you will look back and realize that every single failure had a purpose. It brought you here. It made you stronger than you ever imagined. The path to fluency is not straight. It is full of stumbles, but each one moves you closer to your dream. So don't be afraid to fail. Fail proudly, fail loudly, fail forward. Because every failure is proof that you are brave enough to try, and brave learners always win in the end. Now take a deep breath and look at how far you've come. You didn't just learn English. You learned patience, courage, and consistency, and this is only the beginning. Now it's your turn. Don't be afraid of failure. Speak, practice, repeat, and grow. If this story inspired you, give it a like